Hey everybody, today's video is how to pray the Rosary every day. And this is potentially one of the coolest videos you'll ever see because it's not just every day, but pretty much any time and any place that makes sense and that's safe to pray the Rosary every day. But man, if you forgot your Rosary and you're thinking, dang, I was supposed to pray today, and I'd really like to pray right now, You'll love what this really cool method of praying the Rosary on the fingers of the hands without beads that I developed. It's a new way, and it involves both hands. The left hand is the decades hand, and then the right hand is the counting hand. And this is how it's done. The beginning part and the first decade is prayed here. The second decade, the third decade, the fourth decade, and the fifth decade returns to the original place. The right hand is the counting hand, and we do the Apostles' Creed right there, the Our Father, the three Hail Marys, 1, 2, 3, the Glory Be, the Oh My Jesus. Now we begin the first decade. The left decade's hand has been here and it remains in this place for the first decade. So we do the first mystery, the first Our Father, 10 Hail Marys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The Glory Be, the Oh My Jesus. And then we do the second decade. See how that is? That's the second decade hand position. And this one moves and arrives at this place at this very same time that the right counting hand thumb arrives here. So these arrive together. And you do that for all the changes, basically, when you come to changing the decades. So now this is the place this is the second decade position. So it's the second mystery, the Our Father, 10 Hail Marys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The Glory Be, the Oh My Jesus. And now we'll do the third decade. So the third mystery, the Our Father, and then 10 Hail Marys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The Glory Be, the Oh My Jesus. The fourth decade will be beginning, so we switch to the fourth decade left hand position at the same time that the right counting thumb arrives here for the fourth mystery, the Our Father, the 10 Hail Marys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Glory Be, Oh My Jesus. And then the fifth decade is prayed at the same place where it began. And I like to think of like as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, or like the Alpha and the Omega, just that there's the beginning and the end place that's the same. And so this is the fifth decade we're doing now, the fifth mystery, the Our Father, 10 Hail Marys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Glory Be, Oh My Jesus. The Hail, Holy Queen, and then the concluding prayer, Eternal Father, whose only begotten Son by his life, death, and resurrection. That entire prayer, you can pray that here. And I have just been holding the hands up here so you can see easier, but actually, I know my hands shake a lot too, but normally I just have the hands in a comfortable way, comfortable place. And man, how is this that you can pray every day? So I already said it's because you don't have to worry about did you bring your rosary with you or not. That's one reason. Another reason is that even if you brought your rosary, there may be conditions or circumstances where maybe you shouldn't pull the rosary out and have your, for example, your employer or your, maybe if you're in the military, your superior officer observing you praying on the rosary beads. But if you don't, then maybe you would miss that day. So this is a way to pray every day because you don't need the beads, and you have this really cool way of praying it. It uses the principle of where two or more are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Of course, that commonly means where two or more believers are gathered, then, God's presence will be in the midst of the gathered believers. But you can also, it also works if you gather two or more points together. And so you can actually gather a point on the right, a point on the left, and then abide changelessly in the place between them. And as you do, the world always presents itself in new combinations and new ways. And the way of devotion is simply to abide in the place that doesn't miss the mark. In Scripture sometimes you'll see it referred to as me, like abide in me. And that doesn't mean like an egotistic type of me, but rather if you point to yourself, to the indwelling place of God's presence in you, it would be the place that would not miss the mark in any way. So you can practice without leaning. That means, so you can practice in the place without leaning, and that kind of makes sense that wouldn't miss the mark because you're not going outwardly. It's like as the world presents itself to you from moment to moment, each presentation, it really is an invitation to either choose and hold to the one good thing, or to go anxiously outward into the world, toiling and spinning. Just like that story of Mary and Martha. Remember when Jesus visited them? Jesus was just simply there. And Mary was just simply there too. And Martha really loved Jesus, but she perceived that there were a lot of intermediate toilings and spinnings and steps that needed to be done, because her end goal was that eventually she can come back and do what Mary was simply doing. So Martha said to Jesus something like, "Man, we got to get all this food ready. And Mary is just sitting there. Can you please tell her to come and help me?" And then Jesus said, "Mary has chosen the one good thing." And so similarly in our life, there are all these invitations to jump through one hoop after another, or in the midst of it, to simply abide in the place that does not miss the mark, no matter how the world will move and change. And that's almost the embodiment of the concept of lovest thou me more than these. Martha, sure she loved Jesus, but she had all of the these as intermediate steps and hoops that she had to jump through. And so in that moment, she was choosing those rather than simply to forsake and get rid of all of that, to sell basically all that she had for the treasure that was hidden in the field that was simply there. And Mary chose the one good thing. And similarly, when you pray the Rosary, there's this way that you can do something similar by gathering a point on each side of the body and using the human body, the frame of the human body, as a tool in worship. Because once you establish this scale, you know the very instant that you begin to lean unto your own understanding or forsake this place and go out into the world. So you literally use the frame of the human body in an instructive or informative way, because the very instant that you start to depart outward, you know it, and you know with certainty exactly how to bring it back, so as to abide in this very, very straight and narrow place. The place between opposites, man, when you think about it, like how straight and how narrow is the place between right and left. It's just as straight and narrow as can be. But practicing in this way and sampling a point on each side, it's possible to abide in this place and to have this straight and narrow place as if it is even wider. Something like, because it's basically, it's something like, it may seem like a distraction, I know, but it's something like the eye of the hurricane. It's the peaceful place that's right in the center of the hurricane that kind of has its landmarks. It has an eye wall on each side. And using those as reference points, it's doable and easy to find the place in the midst that is peaceful and serene, and that's the eye of the hurricane. And similarly, in the midst of this changing world that perhaps is like a hurricane, you have so many changes occurring around you each day. I mean, how can you be anchored and have steadiness? Well, you can use this method of praying the Rosary without beads and setting up this really cool scale to have certainty in how to abide in and hold to and choose this one good thing in the midst of a changing world. And so this is kind of an interesting devotional way of practice that is so cool, because it's done, I don't know if it's done this way, but it's because you gather a point on each side of the body, that between the two is like the treasure hidden in a field. So I don't want to get too long-winded, but I will say that this is a way that you can pray not just every day, but throughout the day, even, as long as it's safe and makes sense to do it. And no one's going to see the rosary beads, and you can spend a lot more of your day in devotion. Thank you. Oh, please like and subscribe if you will. Thank you. Bye.